She is a champion
of women in manufacturing.
She is passionate
About advancing technology and inspiring the next generation.
She is
The one and only Megan Zimba, and she's ready to host the Creators Lounge.
The Creators Lounge is proud to welcome Factory Twin.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan Zimba, and we are here on the final day at IMTS 2024, and I'm super excited because I'm sitting with Vivek Saxena from Factory Twin. Hello, Vivek, how are you?
Good morning, nice to be here, delighted to be here.
So the first question, Vivek, who are you and what is your experience and background for engineering and manufacturing?
Well, so Megan, I've been in manufacturing for over 30 years, mostly in aerospace, and I've held jobs from shop supervisor to CEO of an aircraft company. And in the middle, I've done engineering. I was the chief engineer. If you've ever been in an Airbus 220 or Airbus 320 Neo, my team designed the aircraft engine in the early stages of the program.
That is
so
super
I've done
cool.
supply chain, quality, engineering, and running plants, and finally as the CEO of an aircraft company.
So you've been everywhere.
Yeah, and I've seen manufacturing from various angles, and that's what, brought me to where we are today.
Okay.
To solve the problems of factories from all functional perspectives, not just inventory management, not just shop supervision, but everything. So factory is able to make decisions based on a complete integrated picture of all the information they have, and every single decision they make on the shop floor should be data-driven.
Okay, so can you give us some background information then of what Factory Twin is and the type of challenges or problems they're really helping manufacturers with?
So if you look at manufacturing in general, not just aerospace, typically you will have a few OEMs, tier ones, but then you have a long tail of small and medium manufacturers. And that's where the opportunities are, because the larger companies have armies of engineers, they have lots of funding, they could do all kinds of automation, all kinds of IT implementation. But to make American manufacturing competitive, we have to think about this long tail, the small and medium-sized manufacturers. So what we have done is built a software platform for factory data analytics that is particularly made so that it's practical and affordable for small and medium-sized companies to implement factory, harness the superpower of the data, as we say, that they already have in their factories. Is the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing. The lowest hanging fruit is how to use the data I already have, how to use the information I already have, how to use the tribal knowledge I already have to make better decisions faster, to grow profitably. And that's what Factory Twin allows you to do.
So compared to other types of platforms that are out there, because I know there's a ton with a focus on data analytics and what to do with your information and how to organize it, what is the unique thing about Factory Twin compared to some of those other platforms?
So fundamentally, we are coming from operators' angle.
Okay.
So we are operations people that decided to solve the problem we have faced and were frustrated by throughout our careers. So we are not software vendor trying to go in and find a solution to fit our, find a problem to fit our solution. We are actually people who went through entire careers in manufacturing in various companies, various size companies and various verticals, and realized that there's a need. And so then we hired software people to build that software. So that's one thing. From where we are coming from, we understand the shoes that the manufacturers are in.
Okay.
Second thing is, there are lots of platforms out there that will hook up data, they'll do some analytics, maybe even do predictive analytics that we do. But fundamentally, the problem is that you need to understand what is good data. How much data do I have? To put it in context, to realize what is the right data to be used for making certain decisions. And oftentimes, software companies will come and say, we'll integrate this, or we'll work with this to do analytics, or we'll visualize this flow. But unless you're able to do something with the data itself, so we spend considerable amount of time before we start implementing in listening to the customers, understanding their pain points, and more importantly, trying to understand where the data is coming from, how good the data is, what is their confidence in the data, Are there gaps in the data? So we've built automated approaches to deal with that.
Okay.
We can do very quick data assessment of what are the gaps, what are the inconsistencies, what needs to be filled, and we'll say we're not going to implement Factory Twin unless the data infrastructure issues are taken care of. And by the way, we can help you with that because we're not just a SaaS company, we're also consultants for your
Gotcha.
digitalization needs.
Okay. So Vivek, we're going to take a real quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more how Factory Twin is really helping the small to medium-sized manufacturers. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Megan Zimba. We're still hanging out with Vivek here in the Creators Lounge. So Vivek, Factory Twin is not an ERP system, correct?
That is correct.
But it can work with ERP
So
systems.
Factory Twin can work with any ERP system. In fact, we have had customers that have no ERP system. Because remember, we are targeting small and medium-sized companies. So oftentimes you work with companies that have Excel sheets run factories. So we can work with any data streams you have. The other thing to remember is that in addition to data you may have in your structured systems like ERP or MES or QMS or PLM, you also have a lot of data which is tribal knowledge in people's heads.
Right.
And so how do we capture that? So what we have done, which is very unique, is that we have boiled down the entire factory, any generic factory, to 470 variables. Some
Wow.
of them are in ERP, some of them are in MES, some of them are in Excel sheets, and some of them are in people's heads. So we have developed templates to capture all that data so you can make more accurate predictions about what the factory can do and how you can improve your factory.
Which is really beneficial because a lot of that tribal knowledge is going to walk out the door if we don't have a process to document it. So you're really helping with that challenge right there. What are some of the other challenges that you're seeing and hearing from small to medium-sized factories that Factory Twin is really going to help them resolve?
So if you think about, if you are a small and medium-sized company, you are constantly under pressure to cut cost. You're constantly under pressure to win business, which is profitable, and you're constantly under pressure to continue to improve. And as you start looking at all these things, these are not siloed problems. These are not about just inventory management. It's not a problem about just visualization of the factory or connecting your assets. It's about having knowledge about your factory through Factory Twin that learns from the past and present and predicts the future. So it's the entirety of all functions that allow you to do that. So in our case, we'll have, let's say once you implement the Factory Twin, not just the buyer knowing what they need to do to minimize inventory or optimize inventory and make sure parts are available to people on the shop floor, we also have exactly what sales need to do, exactly what production planners need to do, exactly what materials managers need to do. It's a complete integrated solution.
Do you have any specific use cases that you can share with us now that you've been working on?
Absolutely. So we have had customers that have shown significant improvement in the metrics they care for. See, at the end of the day, no matter what factory you're in, you're driven by 3 KPIs. The 3 business KPIs are you want to maximize revenue, maximize profitability, and maximize cash flow.
Okay.
And that includes obviously on-time delivery to the customer. And to address all those things, when you implement Factory Twin, an example would be a factory in Michigan with 2 sites that we implemented about a year and a half ago, and they have shown 16% improvement in throughput with the same resources after using the tool over 12 months plus. So it does take time to start showing results, but most of the break-even points or the ROI you start generating is within a year.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, you know, how are you really helping companies grow more? Like, what are some of the things that, you know, they've changed what they were doing or they added something to their processes? How has Factory Twin been involved in all that?
So let me give you another example. We worked with a factory in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was recently there was an ownership change, and the focus was more on numbers now. Focus was more on profitability and cash flow.
Okay.
When they started using our model and started using our tool, and we simulated the entire factory, showed them what they needed to do in terms of different lot sizes, what they needed to outsource, what they needed to bring in-house, how they needed to run the factory in terms of shift structures. All those decisions could be made. And then you won't believe in 6 months. So 3 months we did to implement, and in 6 months they started to see an inflection point in their cash flow. And now they could use that cash to invest in the workforce. They could use that cash to buy new equipment.
That's
and this
awesome.
inflection took place, and the inventory turns, which is a measure of cash flow, went from 2.5 to 3.75, which in aerospace is very comparative. So 50% improvement in cash flow.
That's amazing.
In 6 months.
That's amazing. And with all of the advances in technologies, investing in the technology that's going to continue to help you grow is very important for companies. So knowing the skills of your workforce, how do you go about making those specific templates that you were talking about earlier so that you know that you're gathering the right information that they need to really improve some of their processes?
So we started by interviewing about 75 small and medium-sized manufacturers. When we started on this journey, that's how we started. And we started to ask them about their pain points. We started to ask about what kind of data resides where. And as I said, we boiled down the entire factory to 470 variables. And we find typically no company, even the largest of the company, and we have worked with largest of the companies, including Lockheed Martin, which is, as you know, $60, $70 billion company. You know that nobody has perfect data. So we started to realize there are certain things which are common across all factories, small or large. And so we started developing those templates. So as an example, when you're running your shop, you only trust 2 out of your 20 machinists to do the changeovers. Where is that information? Only the production supervisor knows it.
Yeah.
You may have operators that can run multiple machines. Where is that information? And what different kind of skills they have. So we can, in Factory Twin, account for skill sets, skill levels to high level of granularity to give you true capacity constraints, to give you the best way to organize and schedule your work and plan your work over the long term.
That's interesting because that's not something that I thought would be a data point, like that specific information. So that's incredible that you guys thought of that and you're including it.
And we are constantly improving those templates. The more people we work with, the more we find newer areas where we can build templates. But we have come to a point, like I said, 470 variables for a factory. Maybe 70 to 100 are missing in a small, medium-sized factory. We have templates to capture that.
Yeah.
And then you have a complete set of information.
That's incredible. Well, we're going to take another quick sponsor break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what lays ahead for Factory Twin and some other stuff. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still here with Vivek here in the Creators Lounge. Vivek, so one of the things that I've heard throughout my conversations, there's some small to medium-sized companies that hesitate to invest in certain technologies. So can we talk about some of those barriers? Like, why are some companies still not using technology, even technology like Factory Twin?
So that's a great question. Not only some, actually a lot, majority of the small and medium-sized companies are hesitant. And I think part of the blame lies with the technology providers.
Okay.
What they have done is given nifty technologies that look great, but at the same time, they have not really accounted for the pain points, not just in the operations of the small manufacturing companies, but also in actual implementation. If you're a small manufacturer or medium-sized manufacturer and you've been through the pain of implementing an ERP system,
Yeah.
oh man, you don't want to do it again.
No,
right?
absolutely not.
So they think, well, it's going to tie up all my resources, it's going to cost so much, and then it's not going to solve my problem.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the fundamental reason why they don't want to do it. So what we try to do is don't go in as a software vendor. Don't go in as we do fixed price problem solving engagements.
Okay.
It's not about implementing software, it's solving your problems.
Okay.
Our software comes in various modules. There's sales and operations planning for long-term capacity planning, long-term inventory exposure planning, long-term financial planning. You have execution issues, day-to-day planning. You have digital continuous improvement to do digitally supported lean implementation that you can do much faster. As an example, if you tell a manufacturer, and this changes the conversation, you go to a manufacturer and say, everybody wants to do lean, and you've been doing it for 30, 40 years, so most of the companies are. You start lean by doing value stream mapping. right? How do you do it? You sit around a table, you got experts tied up for 2 hours at a time for several weeks. You put the yellow stickies on the wall, somebody takes a picture, and they forget about it. What if you had push-button ability to get as-is factory value stream map for every single part you've ever done?
Yeah.
That immediately resonates with people, right? What if I gave you a push-button ability to identify the cost drivers for every single part you ever made and where the opportunities are to reduce your cost? That resonates with the customers.
Yeah.
And you can do it, and you can do it in an automated fashion. At the end of the day, it's your team that has to execute the projects and opportunities identified by the software. So software doesn't solve your problem. It gives you in the right direction. It tells you the real problem. It tells you how to solve it. You still have to execute.
Yeah.
So those two things, if you can talk manufacturer's language, if you are sensitive to why they're hesitant, and solve those problems, like implementation of software. We used to do it in 3 to 6 months. Now we do it in 4 to 6 weeks. How did we do it? Because we learned the pain point. We learned why it takes so long sometimes to implement things.
Yeah.
We have automated those parts of implementation that take a long time. So I think the hesitancy of the small shops, as I said, was partly driven by the technology providers. On the other hand, I know there are manufacturers who have their head buried in sand. They think this will go away like a flavor of the month.
Right.
I'm telling you guys, it's not going away, okay? You can go look at the global manufacturing movement. You can look at amazing things happening at IMTS here. Technology is not going away. Data analytics is not going away, and you cannot fight the, cheap labor or the labor arbitrage with the emerging countries, but you can compete on technology.
Yeah. So then, Vivek, what's next for Factory Twin? What are some of the things that you're working on? Are there any, I don't want to say improvements because it's going to make that sound bad, but updates is probably the best word for it.
So on the product side, we'll continue to evolve and give additional modules as our customers need. Since Factory Twin is a complete representation of the factory, we can address any pain points you have. So right now we have 3 modules: sales and operations planning, day-to-day execution, and digital continuous improvement, and we'll keep adding modules to it. On marketing side, we have so far been focused on aerospace. So we'll continue to be focused on aerospace in the aerospace clusters like Dallas, Connecticut, Indiana, Cincinnati, California, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
We are also starting a campaign for Upper Midwest, which will also allow us to go into adjacent verticals. So medical devices, heavy industrial. So we've started talking to Wisconsin, Illinois.
You said you were talking with their MEPs. So what does that type of partnership help you do?
So, MEPs are doing a great job in